What's life been like for you as UFC champion?
It's been busy, that's for sure. It's been busy, but I always say busy is better than bored.
They always say that, obviously you were a superstar anyway, you were out front, but when you become a champion, it does become that much busier, that much harder to train and stay with it. What have the challenges been like balancing everything?
It's definitely been busier, but it's not too far of an adjustment. At least I kind of had eased my way into that, into that position. So it's just, I'm forced to get better at time management. That's all. That's a skill set I needed to work on anyway. So.
Do you enjoy it? Because I know that's a lot of the same interviews over and over, a lot of the same, doing the same thing every day. I mean, is it enjoyable to you, or do you find it distracting and frustrating at all?
No, I feel like each interaction is a unique interaction. So there's a set, I feed off other people's energy a little bit too. So if people are excited to talk to me, or they bring a good energy to the table, no pun intended, then I enjoy it. I feel like each one is unique in itself.
So how about this opportunity? Fight on biggest card ever, maybe. What does it mean to you? Is it something a little special? Has it added anything to you?
Yeah, it's such a great opportunity to deliver an excellent performance and really represent women's MMA. That's what I'm all about. I want to go out there, I want to defend my belt successfully, and I want to make a statement that women's MMA is awesome.
Were you a little surprised when it was Amanda? I mean, I think that was probably she said that night, I want the title next. I think we all looked at each other and thought, well, that's not going to happen. And then it did happen. Were you a little surprised that she was the name that came to you?
Not really. Considering Ronda wasn't ready, I felt like she was definitely up there. And, I think that there's a reason she's undefeated. There's a reason why 8 of her 9 wins are first round finishes. There's a reason why she's ranked number 4 in the world. And, I think she's a very viable contender. So.
I think the book is that she's dangerous early and then try to get her late, which would seem to favor you. Obviously, you're very good in the late rounds. Is that the way you see it as well?
Right. I know that's a tendency in the past of hers. It seems that she definitely hits a wall in fights. But I think it would be a really piss-poor game plan to count on someone just getting tired. Honestly. So I have to assume that she's making changes. She's making those proper adjustments. She's adding things that she needs to her camp to get her conditioning and cardio where it needs to be. I'm looking at her as a well-rounded fighter, and a fighter like she is the first round. We're preparing like that's going to be for 5 rounds, and we'll be prepared either way.
Were you disappointed at all that Ronda wasn't ready, or that maybe it wasn't a rematch? Or, I mean, it seemed like this is a high-profile card, but maybe those would have been more high-profile matchups. Were you disappointed at all that maybe one of those two didn't happen?
No, not disappointed. There's still time, and I'd rather make sure it's the right time, and she's not ready now, so, she's not really a focal point for me even at this moment in time, so if we avoid the round of questions. Just throwing it out there, it's like I'm not even focused on her at the moment. Amanda Nunes, I believe, is going to be a great challenge for me. I hope that I go out there and have the best win of my career, but I'm prepared for always a knockdown, drag-out, barn-burning fight. And I think Amanda's going to be a very good challenge. And I think this fight's going to show more people why she deserved to be where she's at. I think a lot of people see her as kind of not really deserving of this, and I'm sure she's training really hard. I'm sure she really wants this, and you get a fiery Brazilian woman in there that really wants to take that belt, and I don't think that's anything to scoff at, and I don't think it's anything to discredit or discount or undermine or overlook. I don't want to make that mistake. I've been seeing a lot of UFC belts changing hands recently, and I don't want that to happen to me. So I want to make sure that I'm prepared for the best Amanda Nunes that we've seen yet.
I guess just one round of question. I mean, would you be disappointed? Even though you said, I just wonder, because there's people speculating she might never fight again, where's her head at, and I just wonder, for you personally, would you be disappointed if you didn't ever get that fight, to get one more chance at it? Would you feel like you missed something?
I would be disappointed if she doesn't come back, if I don't get that opportunity, I definitely would be. There would be something like a void that didn't feel like it got to get filled. So I hope that is not the case, but if it is, life goes on, and there's still a lot of great things that I feel like I have yet to accomplish regardless.
Can you talk about titles switching from one fighter to the other, especially in the division? It's happened a couple of times in the last 2 years. Do you think it's more about fighters taking advantage of mistakes, or just fighters getting overconfident? And I guess you're going to see that because this is going to be your first title defense, obviously.
You know, I think each situation is different. I think it isn't good to be, you know, too confident. You know, you want to be confident in yourself, but you always want to be prepared for the latter. And I think that's what I really like about my gym and where I train at Extreme Couture, is that we prepare for the worst case scenario always. We never prepare like, oh, you're gonna just, this is gonna be a breeze, this is gonna be an easy fight. Like there's no easy fights. And you know, I can't count the number of times that my coach is like, I'll be in a great dominant position just killing my training partner, and they're like, oh, you're mounted now. I'm like, what? You know, like, I mean, they put me in those bad positions so that they know that I'm prepared to work out of the worst, you know, possible situation. So I think that, and I think also, it's also a testament to how much more competitive this sport is getting. Sometimes it's not necessarily a lack of preparation on the champion's part, or, you know, whoever gets beat's part. It's just that on any given day, someone can come up, you know, and you know, take away, you know, the belt or whatever. So, I mean, that's the same thing with Amanda and these girls in the division. It's getting deeper, it's getting more competitive, it's, you know, there's more pressure. And I think that's also a testament to just how competitive that on any given day, you know, someone can beat someone.
Miesha, with where you are now, Jim Conan, all these media obligations, you've been preparing for this for a long time. You've been working hard to be in this role for a long time. Does it make it easier because this is kind of what you expected and what you've wanted for a while?
Yeah, I like it. I'm soaking it all in. You know, I'm enjoying it. I'm really happy where I'm at, and I definitely don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. So you guys aren't getting rid of me anytime soon.
There was an article on TMZ last week. Holly Holmes' manager had said that she had been turning down some movie opportunities, focus on training, focus on fighting. I know that you've had some opportunities as well that you've turned down. Has that been difficult to turn down some of those things, and why'd you do it?
Well, yeah, there's definitely been things that you turn down, but the thing is you have to keep your eye on the task at hand and the prize at hand. Like, what do you really want? That's a question I have to ask myself. What do I really want? And to me, the most important thing is to defend my belt. It's not making movies, it's not anything else, you know, and if those things can fall into place in a time when it makes sense, great. But in the middle of my training camp or anything that's going to affect that at all, it's like you just gotta, you know, tell them no. You know, if those opportunities are there now, they'll surely be there after I defend the belt successfully again. That's the way I kind of look at it. So if I don't defend the belt, potentially I lose a lot of opportunities that could have been there, you know, because I'm the champion.
Would it be a lot to juggle? Because I mean, Ronda tried to do it and she ended up losing the belt. Is it a lot to juggle the outside stuff and the fighting stuff?
Oh, it's definitely a lot to juggle, and there has to be a point where you say no. You know, no, I can't do this. No, I can't do that. No, I can't do this. You know, maybe some people think that you're stuck up or arrogant or whatever, but I've found that for the most part, I feel like people really understand that. They're like, no, I get it. I understand you're busy. We'll talk after the fight. Don't worry about it. You know, like everyone's gonna try, but it's like, this is really nice because I can get everyone here in one spot and just knock it all out. But yeah, like turning down a lot of media requests, turning down some different various opportunities that just don't fit into the schedule. You know, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I got to defend the belt. That's it.
Would you want to do movies and that kind of stuff in the future, though?
Yeah.
After all this is.
Yeah, absolutely. I surprised myself with the Fight Valley movie that I actually liked it. I actually liked acting. I was like, I didn't think I was going to be very good at it, to be honest. I don't even know if I really was. I'm not saying that I was, but I liked it. So that was also interesting to me. I kind of thought that I wouldn't really like excel or be interested in something like that, but learn something new about yourself every day. So I liked it. It was fun.
Thanks. The Conan spot is your first go around on late night TV, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. Actually, it is, yeah. Been on Good Morning America, but it's morning times.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
So what was your initial reaction when, you know, UFC people came to you and said, hey, you're going to be on Conan, and, you know, we need you to be the face for us in this late night show?
I'm just like, cool, yeah. You know, I didn't even think about it, like, to be nervous about or anything until everyone was like, are you nervous? Are you ready? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you know, it's going to be fun. Like, you know, so then I was like, should I be nervous? I'm like, no, I shouldn't be nervous. It's like, he's awesome. Like, I was watching some of his, so I haven't had cable for a really long time. So I was like catching up on some of his YouTube interviews and stuff like that the other day, and like the guy's hilarious. Like I don't think you could have a bad interview with someone like him. So it'll be really fun. I'm definitely excited for it.
Is that a conscious decision to not have cable?
Yeah. You know, I have Netflix. I'm good with that, and Netflix and chill. And I don't know. I'm not home enough, and I don't want to be stuck in front of the TV. Even if I am, you know, I've got too much going on. So I don't think I really had cable. I have not paid for cable my entire fight career.
So you had some cable at some point, but you weren't paying
like
for it?
in hotels, you know. Like I've never, like, or maybe like if someone else in the household had it, maybe, but no, yeah.
You and Brian, you know, are a very high-profile couple, and people love to kind of, you know, Brian is a person who people seem to love to pick on, and a lot of time that spillover comes to you. So I'm curious how you handle that and how much that does bother you, because there have been some really rude things that have been said, and where you got dragged into something that really has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, it's really irritating, to be honest, but it's an irritating world that we live in, I guess. You know, with social media gives certain people that never should have had a voice, they now have one.
Right.
And they have the potential to reach someone at any given point. And, you know, it's annoying because people don't have to be accountable. They just hide behind their computer. But then you sit and think, like, normal, productive members of society are not living their lives on social media, and certainly not just to talk crap to people that they don't know. You know, if there's one thing that I grew up learning was, like, to get to know someone before you judge them,
Yeah.
you know? And you may know of me, but you don't know me. You know, and if you don't know, like, I just say don't judge, and the same thing, like, people know of Brian, but they don't know him, and there's this really big misconception out there that he's some kind of asshole or something, but I, you know, beg to differ, and I think he's an amazing man, and something that really I think he doesn't get enough credibility is that women, for some reason, for the longest time and throughout history, have been the supporting role. You know, have been the supporting role to like a man's dreams and success and his ambition. And the good old saying is, behind every strong man is a strong woman. You know, behind every great man is a great woman. Well, I think that it takes a really, really strong man to go against the grain and be willing to support his wife or girlfriend or whatever it may be in her dreams and her ambitions, and really support her in that venture, because I think some men are just not strong enough to do that.
And how much does it bother you when people say he's ducking fights, or he did this, did that? How active are you in helping him choose who to fight next? I mean, because you guys are both so dialed into it, I feel like your opinion is really valid in helping him decide who he should fight next.
You know, that's actually one part of it that I really kind of stay out of. I don't tell him who he should fight, when he should fight. You know, I'm always there to support whatever decision it is that he makes, you know, and then I think that's my job, to just you know, be supportive of whatever he decides to do. And you know, he's an incredible technician. He breaks down fighters, you know, much better than I do. That's why I think I've been so successful too, is because he's really able to take my opponents, break them down, find weaknesses, and then coach me on how to beat them. So I let him do all the analyzing with his career and with mine. So he gets double duty.
Then what's Amanda's weakness then, besides maybe questionable endurance that people think she has?
I think wrestling is a big weakness of hers. I know she has a little bit of judo, but she has never faced anyone like me. And I also think that her mentality, or mental, I think that's a big weakness, honestly.
Yeah, well, because you certainly present yourself in a way that people like to say you never really see Miesha break in a fight. I mean, literally your arm can be bent who knows where.
Yeah.
And do you think that was established just because, like, in the early days, there weren't other girls wrestling when you went in there to wrestle? I mean, did you feel like you had that all the way from the beginning, or was there a point in your career where you became unbreakable?
Yeah, I think I didn't realize that I had it. I think that with time, I kind of began to understand that about myself, and I had this hidden strength that I would have never maybe harnessed if I hadn't really pushed the edge of the envelope and pushed myself beyond my comfort zone, beyond the breaking point. Can't tell you how many times I've been in practice and, you know, going against the guys, and I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, oh my God, we're not even halfway through. Like, I'm not gonna make it. Like, guys, I'm not gonna make it. You know, and you know, and then it's just like, okay, you know, just one more round, and pretty soon practice is over, and that rewarding feeling of like, I never gave up. I never, you know, even though, like, yeah, I had that moment in practice where I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it, I still kept going, and that just kind of reassured myself that I can get through anything.
Do you find that that's something that you get asked out about a lot? Because at this point, whether you liked it or not, you're a role model for young girls, and I feel like you probably get a lot of questions from them. Is there one recurring theme that you hear from girls that are trying to become fighters?
Yeah, a lot of girls want to know like how to do it, what to do. They look for guidance, you know, and I see passion, but they're like, what do I, you know, what's the proper way? How do I get to where you are? What did you do? And you know, I always just try to give them the best advice to really find a good place to train, find people who are going to support you and look out for you, that aren't going to feed you to the wolves, they're not going to, you know, throw you in fights you're not ready for, and train seriously and train like-mindedly as your male training partners. Don't segregate yourself. You know, don't go in there and think like, well, I'm a girl, or any other excuse. Like, just don't go in there with excuses. Like, go in there like you're just an equal, and you know, you'll find that the men will quickly adapt to your mindset as well. You know, I think a lot of times guys get criticized like, oh, you know, they didn't want me there, they did this, that. Like maybe at first, but once you prove yourself, actually, I think they become like brothers. Like they become like your biggest supporters, and it's not such an uphill battle as maybe someone would think once you establish your strong character.
Yeah.
It's they just kind of welcome you into the family, which is nice.
Miesha, your the podcast you do, there's almost no MMA on there. It's almost like a total non-MMA podcast. Was that a concerted effort? Is that what you wanted to do? Why was that?
Yeah, so I appreciate you bringing that up, by the way. The podcast has been just an entirely passionate venture. I'm not making money off of it. I don't try to sell things on there. But it's just fun for me, and I feel like it gives maybe the fans a deeper look into who I am, more than just a fighter. It gives, you know, it's Miesha Tate show, so I talk about whatever interests me. I talk to really cool people and have a lot of interesting conversations, and I just try to give people more insight, like I said, as to who I am, what I'm about, what interests me, and I tell a lot of backstories there, my childhood and things like that. So I figure it's not only fun for me because I get to talk to really cool people and develop relationships that otherwise wouldn't really make sense. You know, sometimes you meet someone in passing, you meet someone on a plane, like I met Pedro, what's his last name? Come on, I always forget names. He was on Orange is the New Black. He was the one with the mustache.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Porn stash?
Yeah. He's doing a lot of things.
Yeah, well, anyways, so I sat next to him on a flight, and, you know, we talked all the way from, like, Las Vegas to New York. Now, he's someone like that you see in passing, and you probably, maybe if you ever see him again, you'd be lucky. But it would be like with the podcast, like, hey, will you come on the podcast? You know, it's a great opportunity to really connect with cool people and get to know them and develop relationships, and it's just fun. Like, I absolutely love it. It's an entirely passionate, driven venture for me.
Is this like a post-career type thing that you might want to do, talk shows, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope it would open, you know, any kind of doors that would continue me on that kind of venture, because I really like talking to interesting and cool people. So hopefully.
Miesha, you've been through this before in some sense. You've won a major title before, but then obviously the defense is something new to you. How have you grown since the previous Strikeforce opportunity to defend? And then, you know, how do you change and adapt your training camp as the stakes sort of rise?
I feel like I train at one of the best gyms in the world, at Extreme Couture, and I feel like it's one of the most underrated gyms, and I think it has the most underrated coaches there. The coaches there don't get a lot of limelight, and that's not by accident. It's because of the characters of the coaches are so selfless there that they don't care about recognition. They don't care about themselves. They only care about what they can do to make the fighter better. And you know, I can say that wholeheartedly about Robert Paulus and Jimmy Gifford, my striking coach and my MMA coach. They're phenomenal. They're amazing. They're a huge part of what got me here. We're on a 5-fight win streak, and the progression from Strikeforce to the UFC, you know, it's all been a learning experience. Obviously, you know, Brian had I can't even count. I could not even begin to list how instrumental he's been in my career. That goes without saying. But when I made the transition to Extreme Couture, it just helped all those other pieces. Because Brian was trying to wear so many hats. He's a fighter. He's a coach. He's the team captain. He's helping manage my career. He's managing his career. It's like it was just too much. So when we brought the other coaches in, it helped kind of like be the buffer between the boat and the dock. You know, and they just help everything transition so smoothly. And they're all very important pieces to the training camp.
You actually manage some fighters now, is that correct?
Yeah, I do, sort of. You know, it's loosely. I don't like ask for money or anything, but I just give them guidance. You know, I manage my best friend Nick DeLee. Nicolai Rivera-Kalanick, my other best friend Cindy Dandois fights for Invicta. And I help also with Gustavo Lopez, who's one of my training partners, Brandon Eichenhardt.
How does sort of taking on that role change your perception of the fight game in general?
I don't know. That's only convenient.
Yeah, it goes down sunset.
I can't say that it's changed my perception of the game because it's not anything really new. You know, like they're growing fighters, they're evolving, they're trying to get to where. So it just, you know, reminds me like where I was at one point. So I just do anything that I can to help them to achieve their goals and dreams, as people did for me when I was coming up and I didn't have much. You know, I didn't have a name, I didn't have money, definitely didn't have money. And, you know, people went out of their way. It's a very kind community, honestly. Like when you talk about the fighters and the coaches, it's very close-knit and very helpful. A lot of people are willing to do things just out of the goodness of their heart. So that's another thing that I love about MMA.
Miesha, when you fought Ronda, when you fought Holly Holm, you were the underdog. Now that you're the champion, has there been like a change in the mentality that you have had facing this fight?
Yeah, I mean, there's just something different about me. It's not necessarily my mentality of, you know, how I fight or anything, but there's just a sense of like primal possession over that belt. Like it's just like I feel so much more fierce about it because I really have something to protect now. And you know, I think that's going to add a sense of ferocity in my fights that we haven't seen before. This will be the first time that I protect the belt.
And as far as your training, has there been any change?
No, you know, the training really hasn't changed except it's just better. It's just better. I've never felt so great. This is by far the best camp. And you think it gets just as good as it's ever going to get. And then, you know, it blows my mind that I continue to evolve as quickly as I do, learn as much as I do, and continue to get better every single fight camp. You know, that's just a testament of how much I really want this and how much I really love the sport, that I'm always looking for the next best, innovative way to be better.
Miesha, you've been in the fight game for a while, obviously. Going back to the Scrum days of the Gina Carano's and the Cyborgs of the world, do you ever visualize the sport, the women's side of the sport, getting so big? What went through your mind when everything started getting so big?
So it all really started with Gina Carano and Cyborg when they fought the first time as a main event for Strikeforce on television, and they sold crazy numbers, better than the guys did. And that was like the yes moment, you know, like yes, good on women's MMA, you know. I always believed it, but it's one thing to believe it yourself because you might be biased, you know. I was always a fan, obviously, and I always wanted it to do well, but like to see other people reciprocate was like, okay, I think this could really, you know, yeah, like this is what I've been saying, you know. I was right, and I was like, I think this could really do well. That's the moment that I thought that women's MMA was going to do big things. I thought it was going to take longer.
Yeah, but do you think it had to do with Gina's good looks? Do you think it had to do with Cyborg's power? Do you think it had to do with the appeal of the, you know, of two women, you know, fighting at the same level as guys?
I think it had to do with all of the above. So you have to take into account that mixed martial arts or, you know, MMA and the UFC is an entertainment business. So there's different ways to market and sell things. And with all things into account, I think those two like paired for an incredible draw really well. And yeah, I mean, it never hurts to look good doing what you're doing, you know?
Cyborg made 139 pounds when she had her UFC fight. I think you posted something on social media about 4 more pounds to go. How do you feel about that? You did a movie with her, so face to face, did she feel a lot bigger than you? Do you feel she could have made 135 pounds?
I think she can make 135 pounds, but yeah, she's a very big girl. You know, she's naturally big, and I'm sure that it would be really a difficult cut for her. You know, she'd have to lose muscle. She wouldn't just be able to cut the water weight. She has to come down, you know, and I think she was smaller than she was when I saw her in the movie, you know, because we filmed it, oh man, almost, I think it's going to be almost a year now, something, 9 months ago. So, yeah, it's been a little while, but she looked like she's coming down in size, and it would be cool to see her come down to 135 and, you know, be able to challenge for the belt. That would be awesome.
You mentioned in the past that you'd go up to 140 and fight her, but does that change now that you have the belt?
No, you know, it hasn't changed, but the thing is I don't know if I cannot fight for the belt while I'm the champion. I don't know how that works.
Have you asked?
McGregor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah,
time.
well, I'm not Conor McGregor, so I don't know how, he has like his own set of rules. So I'm not really sure. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I think it would be better if we could make it a title fight. But, at some point, if that comes down and it's allowed, then, like, of course, like, because, I think it would be really cool to fight Cyborg, honestly. Like, to really, like, see what it's like to be in there with someone of her power. And to see, like, I'll be the first to admit, like, physically, I think I would be at a disadvantage. But I think that I can be the one to prove that I have the heart, the durability, the determination, and the willpower and technique to overcome that kind of challenge. And that intrigues me. That would be very rewarding to me.
Do you think that when Cyborg made her UFC debut, that was a really big game changer for women's MMA in the UFC?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if it's a big game changer until she commits to the division. Because I had assumed that by coming to making 139, I just automatically assumed that 135 was next. I thought this was a transition. But I'm still a little bit confused by, like, why she's going back, to Invicta at 145. Like, is she coming to the UFC? Is she not? Like, is she staying at 145? Is she coming to 135? What's going on? So I don't know if it was a game changer, but it was definitely interesting, and it was cool to see that she could, come down that low,
Miesha, early on in your career, you actually suffered a head kick knockout. So you've sort of been through that. It was a long time ago. Can you maybe share with us sort of the mentality of coming back from something that's rather devastating?
Yeah, I think either you have the desire and the mentality to do that, or you don't. And I think for me, I know it was a long time ago, and I know it wasn't, as big of a platform as we're all fighting on now, but it was just as devastating to me because it was as big as it got, and it was as important as anything could ever be to someone. So, I had my my pro debut against Jan Finney, and what's crazy, this is for Bodog, what's crazy is we fought four rounds. We were only supposed to fight 3, but there was no athletic commission again or anything like that. We were supposed to fight 3. At the end of the 3 rounds, her and I are exhausted. I had a hellacious weight cut because I really wasn't very good at cutting weight back then, and I was heavier. I didn't know what I was doing. And at the end of 3 rounds, like, we're already, like, chatting, like, her and I are already, like, complimenting each other, like, oh man, you got me with a great leg kick, and I'm telling her this, and she's like, oh, you remind me of Janelle Marquez, like, a wrestler, this and that, and then, like, they come back to us like, well, we can't really decide on a winner, so we're gonna have you guys go a 4th round. We're like, okay, like, I just told her everything she did great, like. And so we went a 4th round, and they were gonna try to make us go a 5th round, and, like, I was like, her and I were just so tired. We were like, we can't go a 5th round, and so they had the referee decide who won instead of the judges. Yeah, because he had the best seat in the house. So he raised my hand, which I was very excited about until I realized, like, 25 minutes later, I was fighting Caitlin Young, who had, like, an 18-second fight against a girl that I, like, never fought before, and she was really fresh. And I got my head kicked off. But needless to say, coming back from that was a learning experience again. Not a fan of tournaments, and it was just one of those things. Like, it broke my heart, honestly, it really did. It broke my heart, but I felt like I could learn from it and I could get better, and that's what I decided to do.
Miesha, before the fight with Holly, you guys are very cordial with each other. You made a joke at the press conference that Conor and Nate were going at it, and you and Holly were, doing secret handshakes. There's been some negativity from her team since that happened. Do you have a different opinion now of her and that whole situation?
Not of Holly, no. I can't say enough nice things about Holly. She's always been incredibly nice to me. I think she represents herself very well, and I think she's a phenomenal fighter, and I really think she's going to come back stronger, and I believe we will see each other down the road. But, her representation, I can see how they rubbed the UFC the wrong way. They kind of rubbed me the wrong way too, and I was told that they, wanted her to fight me because they thought that it was going to be a tune-up fight, and I just think that's never, like, a good idea to take anyone lightly in this sport. So I found that kind of offensive. I don't think that Holly did. I think Holly, trained, and I think she really thought she was going to beat me, but I think she thought it was going to be, a tough fight. I think she prepared, but I think that her representation, it seemed to me that they were a bit arrogant about the fight.
So that's something you knew before the fight or after the fight?
It was after the fight. Yeah. I talked to them and not to them, but I just heard from a very reliable source that they were like, oh, we really want this fight. It's going to be, a tune-up fight for Holly. Don't worry. Like, she'll just walk through Miesha and we'll have the fight with Holly later. So I'm like, well.
How do you think she'll do against Shevchenko?
I think that Holly will win that fight. I think it's a good style matchup for her. I think that she moves too much. She's got such great lateral movement, and Shevchenko, even though she's a great striker, she seems to be more stationary. So I think she'll be more of a stationary target. Not as long as Holly, not as good a movement. I think Holly will be in and out, cutting angles. And I know I can attest to how hard it is to catch Holly or to even to hit her. She's pretty good at what she does. Very good at range control.
I asked you this before. I think we were talking about Joanna and Claudia on The Ultimate Fighter, and how a lot of people are saying that Joanna now is the bad guy, and she's been positioned that way. What do you make of that? Are you bringing back any memories of how you were on that show? And I don't know if you have any sort of, not advice for Joanna, but people are really all of a sudden calling her a bully and all of this stuff, when we all know that show is up to the editors in many ways.
Right. Yeah, there's only so much that can be taken from any kind of reality show, and I haven't seen that part of it yet. Lack of cable.
Yeah, there you go.
But I mean, she's been nice whenever I've run into her, but I'm much closer to Claudia, but I'm not saying anything bad by any means about Joanna. I haven't seen the episode, so I can't really attest to that. She's been nice to me, but Claudia has always been just an incredibly warm person, very sweet, very Brazilian. She's passionate. She walks around with her heart on her sleeve, and I really, I enjoyed. I got to come in as a special guest. So
Do you think that Claudia won the first fight? It was very close. I don't mean to put you on the spot. If you don't remember
I don't
exactly,
remember. I don't remember in depth enough, but I remember it was a phenomenal fight. Really looking forward to that fight. And I think it's great that there's a rivalry in that division right now. I think that the division kind of needs a little bit of spicing up.
Well, and plus that'll be going down the night before you. So in a way, I feel like that's probably going to be something you're going to have your eyes dialed into.
Oh, yeah.
And that's got to be a little bit inspiring to watch those two throw down, because they are so good.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. They're two of the best in the 115-pound division, and that's why you're the champion and the contender. And after a whole season, we're gonna see how each one of them deals with that pressure and that long lead up. It's such a long, drawn out lead up to a fight. It's not normal, and to have to see your opponent on a daily basis, especially when you don't get along with them, it has its ways of being tiring. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out, mentally and emotionally fresher for the fight.
And I mentioned the other day, kind of a dream scenario. What if you and Joanna fought at 125?
That'd be cool.
It's
yeah.
Because
Yeah, what the heck? Why is there there's catchweight fights happening? Yeah. What happened with that? Why is there 125?
Well, the backstory on that one was that JoJo knew she wasn't going to be able to make 115, and that she had asked to fight at a catchweight, and it depended on if the opponent would accept the catchweight, and Valerie accepted it.
Oh.
So, according
to
from what I understand from Sean, there won't necessarily be a whole division yet, but that was a special case for that fight.
Okay, yeah, so I didn't even know that backstory, but it was interesting. I thought it was a great fight, and it intrigues me if there was a 125-pound division. It definitely intrigues me. I'm not making any promises, but it does intrigue me.
You can make 125, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I woke up the other day at 145, 46. I just stay hover around there.
Would it be something you'd want to do? If you could do it, would you prefer to fight at 125 or?
It interested me a lot at first, but now that I'm the champ at 135, I kind of want to really make my statement there a little bit. And if the opportunity was more appealing at 125 than if that opened, then yeah, it could definitely be. But it's hard to see that right now without it actually being there, like what girls would go down, what girls would go up.
Well, because we were talking that there would be enough small 135ers you would think could come down, and enough girls would have a hard time making 115. But
That would go up.
But according, to Sean and stuff, that there's still they still have to try to find enough
More.
girls to flesh everything out, and they just couldn't do it.
Well, and it would thin out to
Exactly.
other divisions that
Right.
are, just full enough. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's off anyways. So, yeah.
Miesha, being the champ now, do you feel like you have an obligation to be this kind of ambassador or spokesperson for women's MMA? And if so, like, what kind of responsibilities do you think you have in that kind of position?
I think that it's kind of the way of it, I suppose. And I'm kind of representing women's MMA as a champion right now, which it's exciting for me because it's something that I've been so passionate about for such a long time, and I'm a big supporter of other women in this. We need other strong women in this division. It's not just all about me, I need other strong contenders, and I want the 115-pound division to flourish, and that's been a big goal of mine. That's why I wanted to start a women's team at Extreme Couture. So, we have about 6 or 7 women that are really strong, up-and-coming women that are training there right now, and I hope that we get more. And I want to see, someday when I'm not, physically active in this anymore, that it continues to flourish and do well.
What do you think, like, say, looking forward to the future, your fighting days are done, like, what kind of role do you see yourself doing to kind of get that message across that women's MMA is this, and, it should be celebrated and things of this sort?
Yeah, well, I hope that I can continue to help young girls that are looking for guidance to come up, and hopefully I can show them the ropes or help them. I've seen myself. I've envisioned myself matchmaking. I've envisioned myself managing. I've envisioned myself coaching. I've envisioned obviously working at Fox, which is completely off topic of that. But like I love doing that as well. But talking about, I will be involved in MMA regardless. Once I'm past the physical prime of being able to fight, I will find a way to continue to feed my passion, one way or another.
Miesha, in UFC 200, there's going to be another women's bantamweight fight between Kat and Juliana, two people that you're very familiar with. How important is it to you to maybe have the opportunity to rematch Kat at some point? And then also, what do you think about maybe fighting Juliana, given that the two have a relationship?
Yeah, fighting Juliana is not ideal. It's not something that I want, but it is something that we both told each other a long time ago that we would only fight each other if it was title holder and contender. So now that I have the belt and if she wins this fight, obviously she'd be a very, arguably like a top contender. So it's something that we have discussed, we understand, it's there, hasn't affected the friendship. Her and I were just texting today. And, it's not ideal, but I would never hold back that opportunity from her and vice versa. We always said that, like, hey, let's avoid it at all costs. But if you're the champ and I'm, the challenger, vice versa, like that's kind of, the dream is bigger than, I hate to say like bigger than the friendship, but that, the opportunity presents itself. You got to kind of do that as a friend, I feel like. So, and as far as Kat goes, it's the same thing. Yeah, of course. I want to fight Kat again. I want to avenge that loss, and I definitely think that's very doable. We'll see what happens on that fight and who comes out on top. Still got to keep my focus on Amanda for the moment.
Kat took a few shots at you recently. I don't know if you saw that, about how, because she beat you and Nunes, so she was like, well, why am I not getting the title shot at UFC 200?
Yeah. Oh, I think she's not getting the title shot because she's been on such a long layoff. That's it. You can't. Well, it depends who you are, but like, there are some rule benders in this sport. But there's, usually not on. She's on a really long layoff, came back, fought Ronda, lost. Now she's on a really long, pretty long layoff again, coming back off a loss. I just think it would be hard to make an argument as to why she deserves that over girls like Amanda who have been really active and on a win streak. But just not taking anything away from Kat. She just has a little bit of work to do. Get back in there and shake off some rust. And if she wins this fight, then that will say something. But I got a lot of faith in my girl Juliana too. She's an amazing fighter.
So by saying that, I guess
you mentioned wrestling earlier was the weakness for Amanda Nunes. The past few fights, you've stayed standing up for the most part. The last fight, you had some of these long kicks, this length trying to keep you away in the lateral movement. Do you feel like you finally got someone who's going to come and brawl and walk into what your strength is, wrestling, and maybe we see a fight where you're taking them to the ground a lot more than you've been able to last few fights?
It all depends on the style of the moment, you know, and I wouldn't put it past me to stand and bang with Amanda too. You know, I've been getting much more confident on my feet, and I don't feel like I need to take this fight to the ground. I think that what my goal in this fight is to break her. And that's it. Like, no matter how. I don't think Amanda really likes to get hit. I think she thinks she likes to get hit, but I don't think she does. And I think she likes to be delivering. And if she's winning, it's great. But when she's not, when she's put in that spot of adversity, she tends to break. And I don't even know if it's so much a question of cardio as it is like, how bad does she really want it? And so I think there will come a point in the fight where that becomes a question in her mind, and it won't be a question in my mind. And wherever we are, whether we're on the feet or on the ground, like, I'm just going to take it to her. So, yeah, very excited for this fight.
So, based on your previous comments, does that mean you kind of disagree with the fact that Ronda has essentially a standing title shot for whenever she comes back?
Well, Ronda accomplished a lot in the sport before she was kind of knocked down, so I think she has a much stronger case, you know, and I don't think that I would not argue that she's not deserving. So, you know, that's different. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Last question, anybody?
Miesha, obviously with being the champion, the fight promotion responsibility is kind of taking an uptick, but how's your personal life kind of changed, you know, outside of the octagon, outside of the cage? Are you experiencing different things? Is things a little harder to handle, easier to handle? What's that like?
What do you mean exactly?
Like,
There's
just
a lot
to-
to personal life.
Well, I mean, not to get too personal.
Right.
Like outside of the cage, you know, you have your day-to-day routine. You know, your friends that you speak to, and you know, family that you speak
Yeah.
to. Have you seen an uptick in people calling you and saying, "Hey, you know, what you been up to lately?" and things like that?
Yeah, a little bit, definitely. I think anytime you get more mass notoriety, people start to come out of the woodwork a little bit. And it's not to say that anyone that's come out of the woodwork is, you know, bad or malicious. You know, maybe it's just kind of more insight in mind. But you know, I just remember that I keep my friends and family that were there and close before still close. So they're still the same people, and they don't treat me any different or talk to me any differently. So it's just really the same. And anybody else, you know, it's like, you know, thank you, I appreciate the support, you know. But I've got my core group of people that have been there the entire time, and I'll always be thankful for that.